Ever wondered how to make Jerusalem bagels at home? Welcome to a culinary journey that's going to transport you straight to the heart of Middle Eastern cuisine. Today, we're exploring the iconic Jerusalem bagel, also known as Kaak Al Quds. These bagels are more than just food. They're a symbol of cultural heritage, a staple on the streets of the Old City, and a testament to the rich culinary tradition of the region. Stay tuned to find out how you can make these delicious treats in your own kitchen. First things first, gather all your ingredients. For our easy Jerusalem bagels, also known as Kaak Al Quds, you will need the following: 3½ cups of all-purpose flour, a tablespoon of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of salt. For the yeast mixture, you'll want 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast, a teaspoon of sugar combined in a cup of warm water. Let it sit until it's frothy. You'll also need a 1/4 cup of olive oil. Now for the toppings. We'll be using a mix of 2 tablespoons each of white sesame seeds, black sesame seeds, and dried za'atar. If you're unable to find za'atar, a blend of dried thyme, oregano, and sesame seeds will do the trick. And if you're vegan, feel free to substitute the olive oil with a plant-derived oil of your choice. Now that we have everything we need, it's time to start cooking. The first step in making Jerusalem bagels is preparing the dough. Let's dive right in. Begin with a large mixing bowl into which we'll add a touch of sugar. This bit of sweetness is the secret to the slightly sweet undertone of our bagels. Now sprinkle in some active dry yeast. This is our leavening agent that will help our bagels rise and achieve that distinctive fluffy texture. Pour in some warm water and give it a gentle stir to dissolve the yeast and sugar. It's crucial to keep the water temperature just right, not too hot or too cold. You're looking for a cozy lukewarm like a mild spring day. While our yeast is waking up and starting to bubble, we can move on to the dry ingredients. In a separate bowl, combine the all-purpose flour with a pinch of salt. The salt will enhance the overall flavor of our bagels. Now it's time to bring our dry and wet ingredients together. Gradually pour the yeast mixture into the flour, stirring as you go along. You'll start to see a dough form. Once you've combined everything, it's time to get your hands dirty. Well, doughy to be precise. Knead the dough on a lightly floured surface for about 10 minutes. You're looking for a smooth and elastic texture. This kneading process develops the gluten in our dough, giving our bagels their satisfying chewy bite. Once you've kneaded the dough, place it back in the bowl, cover it with a clean kitchen towel, and let it sit in a warm spot. We're going to let the dough proof for about an hour. This is where the yeast does its magic, causing the dough to rise and double in size. While waiting, you can take a well-deserved break. Grab a cup of coffee, read a chapter of that book you've been meaning to finish, or simply take in the soothing aroma of the yeast at work. And there you have it. After an hour, your dough should be ready. It should have risen significantly and feel light and airy to the touch. With the dough now ready, it's time to move on to the next step. Now comes the fun part, shaping our bagels. At this point, our dough is ready to be transformed into the distinctive ringed shape that makes a bagel. The process is quite simple, but it requires a bit of finesse to get the perfect shape and size. First, let's divide the dough. You'll want to portion your dough into even pieces. A good tip is to aim for pieces about the size of a small lemon. This will give you a bagel that's not too big, not too small, but just right. Once you have your dough pieces, it's time to roll. Take each piece and roll it into a log about 6 to 8 inches long. Don't be afraid to use a little flour to prevent sticking. The length of the log will determine the size of your bagel, so adjust accordingly to your preference. Now, let's shape the bagel. Take the ends of your dough log and join them together to form a circle. Pinch the ends together firmly to seal. This is crucial because you don't want your bagel to come apart during the baking process. After forming the circle, you might notice that the hole in the middle is quite small. Don't worry. Gently stretch the dough ring from the center to widen the hole. Remember, the dough will rise during baking and the hole will become smaller, so make it a bit larger than you think you need. As you shape your bagels, place them on a lined baking sheet, giving each bagel enough space to expand. A good rule of thumb is to leave about 2 inches between each bagel. Shaping bagels is a hands-on process, and it can be a fun activity to involve the whole family. It's not just about creating a delicious snack, it's also about making memories. So there you have it. You've shaped your bagels and they're looking great. They're now ready for the next part of the process. Take a moment to admire your work. You've crafted these bagels with your own hands and they're one step closer to being enjoyed. With our bagels shaped, we're ready for the next step. Now it's time to bake our bagels to golden perfection. The magic of bagel making truly unfolds in the baking process. Here's how to get it right. Preheat your oven to a toasty 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This might seem high, but trust me, it's the secret to achieving that irresistible crust and perfectly soft interior. While the oven's warming up, let's discuss baking sheets. You'll want to line them with parchment paper to prevent sticking. No parchment paper on hand? A light dusting of flour will do the trick. Once the oven has reached the desired temperature, it's time to introduce our bagels to the heat. Place them on your prepared baking sheets, ensuring there's enough space between each one to allow for even baking. Now pop those trays into the oven. The baking process is crucial, so set your timer for 20 minutes. But remember, baking is more of an art than a strict science. It's important to keep an eye on your bagels as they bake. If they begin to darken too quickly, you might want to lower the oven temperature slightly or move the trays to a lower rack. Halfway through, turn your baking sheets around. This helps to ensure an evenly baked batch. After all, nobody wants a bagel that's golden on one side and pale on the other. As the minutes tick away, your kitchen will fill with the mouth-watering aroma of fresh bread. It's a smell that's almost as satisfying as the taste of the bagels themselves. When the timer rings, remove your bagels from the oven. They should be a beautiful golden brown color, with a slightly crisp exterior that gives way to a soft, chewy interior. Allow your bagels to cool on the baking sheet for a few minutes, then transfer them to a wire rack to cool completely. This prevents the bottoms from becoming soggy. With our bagels baked, we're almost done. Now, doesn't that sound deliciously rewarding? Stay tuned for the finishing touches and the much-anticipated tasting. Now for the final touches before we can enjoy our homemade Jerusalem bagels. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. As our bagels are now out of the oven and cooling, we can start by preparing our toppings. For our recipe today, we'll go with the traditional sesame seeds. However, you can always get creative and use your favorite seeds or spices. Poppy seeds, flax seeds, or even a bit of za'atar for a Middle Eastern twist could be great options. To adhere the seeds to the bagels, we'll need to lightly brush them with a bit of water. Once that's done, generously sprinkle your chosen topping over the bagels. The water helps the seeds to stick, so don't be shy with it. Now it's time for the best part. Let's taste these beauties. As you bite into your freshly baked Jerusalem bagel, the first thing you'll notice is the delightful crunch of the toasted sesame seeds. Then, the soft and slightly chewy interior will take over. You'll find that these bagels are not as dense as your regular bagels. They have a light and airy texture, almost like a cross between a bagel and a soft pretzel. The taste is simply divine. The slight sweetness of the dough perfectly balances the nuttiness of the sesame seeds. And if you've opted for the za'atar, the earthy and tangy flavor it adds is an absolute delight. The aroma of the freshly baked bread combined with the warm spices takes you on a culinary journey right to the heart of Jerusalem. These bagels are great on their own, but they're also an excellent vessel for your favorite spreads or fillings. Slather on some cream cheese or maybe some hummus for a truly authentic experience. Add some fresh veggies for a crunch, or perhaps some smoked salmon for a luxurious treat. Whatever your heart desires. In the end, what we have here is not just a bagel. It's a labor of love, a piece of cultural heritage, and a delicious treat all rolled into one. And the best part? You made it yourself. And there you have it, delicious homemade Jerusalem bagels. Enjoy! Let's quickly recap the steps we took to make our Jerusalem bagels. We began with gathering our simple ingredients, then moved on to preparing the dough. After the dough was ready, we shaped it into bagels, ensuring each one was perfect. Then we baked them to golden perfection. And finally, the best part, the tasting. Thank you for joining me on this culinary journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more delicious recipes. Until next time, happy cooking!